Good afternoon, Drawing Club. Welcome to another robotic drawing session. Thank you very much to everybody who has watched and drawn and sent me pictures of the robots that we've drawn so far. We had Bakerbot, we had Sparky Springbot, and today we are going to draw Squarehead Thinbot, a rather unusual looking character with a very funny face. I've got my few sheets of paper. Remember, I like to have a couple of pieces of paper underneath the one I'm working on. I've got a nice sharp pencil with an eraser on the end. And I've got my black pen for outlining later. And I've also got my colouring pencils ready to make my robot jump off the page. Now, Squarehead Thinbot. The first clue as to how we're going to start is in his name. Squarehead. Got my portrait piece of paper, and I'm going to start off by drawing his square head. And remember, nice and lightly to start with. It's really challenging to draw an exact square on plain paper, even if you have a ruler. If you would like to use a ruler for this activity, you can, of course. Mine isn't going to be a perfect square. I could even check using my ruler. That's 4 centimeters. On a square, they all need to be 4 centimeters. This one, oh, that's 4 centimeters. Hey, this isn't bad so far. 4 centimeters. 4 centimeters. Pretty good effort from Mr. Scullion to draw her square without using a ruler. It's not quite a right angle here, so it's not a perfect square. Once you've drawn one square, your job now is to draw another one inside. So leave a very small gap and draw another line. Now for this one, I'm going to do my vertical lines because they're much easier to draw because of the movement of your wrist and your hand. It's much easier to draw like this than it is like this. So I've drawn my vertical lines. I'm going to turn the page and then draw these vertical lines as well. And then I can turn it back, and I've done it. There we go. There's the start. That's his head. Now we need to have some sort of ear or antennae thing going on. So let's go for coming off the side near the top of the square. Just 2 small lines, a bit like an equal sign, and we'll do that on both sides. So that equal sign is touching the sides of the square. Then I'm going to draw a small oval on the end here, and on the end here. It's a good start. We need a join for his neck, so that's going to be another small rectangular shape here, just 2 horizontal parallel lines. Is that in the middle? I don't think it is. Luckily, I've drawn it lightly. I'm going to turn my page, finish off that line again because I rubbed it out slightly, turn it back, find the middle, visualize the middle, and then draw 2 parallel lines. Lovely. Time for some facial features. He does have unusual eyes. They're really far apart. I've got one set over here, or one eye over here. And I've got one eye. Try to make your circle the same size. Really tricky. Over here, you can see I had to have 2 goes at that, so I can rub out the line I don't want, because I pressed nice and lightly. So, there are his eyes, really far apart. Quite unusual. And his mouth, right at the bottom, just above that neck, a small circle. I've drawn the circle smaller. Of course, you can choose other shapes for the eyes if you want to. I'm going inside these with another small circle. That's going to be tough to colour in later. And another small circle there. And I'm really happy with how his face is coming together. He looks a bit surprised. Ooh! Okay, he's called Squarehead Thinbot. So let's make him thin. There's the top of a rectangle, just a bit wider than his neck, and he's going to be nice and long and thin. A long, thin rectangle, lines coming down, lines coming down. There's his body, very, very thin. I'm going to put a square at the bottom that's going to act like his waist. So remember, squares, you want all of your sides to be the same length if you can. and this is his waist. So his legs will come from the waist. We're also going to put in some shoulder joins for his arms. So just underneath the start of the top rectangle here, and have another small rectangle coming down, and another small rectangle coming down for his arms. Then from there, we've got two more equal signs, two parallel lines coming off each side that will help us join his arms really nicely. And I'm going to close those off to make small rectangles. If you need to pause the video to catch up, you can. Leave this picture on the screen so yours can match mine. Now it's time for his legs. He's got very unusual legs. It's a bit like a spring or a slinky. For this, I'm going to turn him on his side, and I'm going to draw lots of vertical lines, just coming from his waist. I'm going to try and make them all the same width and all the same distance apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to turn it to make sure I'm going in the right direction. I am. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Turn again just to check. Okay, it's still going straight down. I'm quite happy with that. 13, 14, 15. You can do as many as you like. I've chosen 15 because that gives me just a little shorter than his body. We're going to put one line from here straight through the middle of all of those down to the bottom. And now we're going to draw his arms. Now his arms are bolted together. It's like two rulers that we bolt together so it can hinge. And they're coming down like this. His arms. So very, very thin rectangles. They start higher than this shoulder and they come down to about here. Very, very thin rectangle coming down. See, super thin. It's going to be really good colouring practice later on. And then the same on this side, super thin. Really good for your pencil control is Squarehead Thinbot, because we have to do this in pencil now and in pen later on. Once you've done that, that's the top part of his arm. So we've done the humerus for us, the bit that goes from shoulder to elbow, and now we're going to do this part here, the forearm, which is bolted on here. So starting just above where this one ends, small line out, and then down another thin rectangle. And the same on this side. Down. Now you can make these as long or as short as you like. Mine are just slightly shorter than the top part of his arm. Slightly longer might look unusual, but it is your robot, so you can decide. We need to give him a bit of a base, and he's going to have some wheels. So I'm going to go out at the bottom with a small rectangle, like this. That's the start of his base. And then we need an axle, where his wheels are going to join so they can spin around, and his axle is going to be nice and long, but also quite thin. Now it's really difficult to draw. Oh, mine's a bit wonky. Let's try and make it so that it is nice and accurate. That axle. That's better. Luckily I'm pressing quite lightly. Drawing wheels is tough if you're facing the front of something. We need to imagine what it would look like if we just looked at the front. You can see it on your car, on your bicycle, on tuk-tuks. If you look at the front, you don't see a round wheel. You might see something that looks like this. It's a bit like a stretched elliptical shape, like a thin oval. I'm going to try and make the one on the other side the same. It's important that these are the same, otherwise our Squarehead Thinbot won't roll in a straight line. This one's a little bit taller. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. And of course we need to attach the wheels. So let's put a small rectangle and then a bolt. A small rectangle and then a bolt. How are you getting on so far? Do you need to pause the video? Take a look at mine. Try and get yours to match. We're doing his arms and his legs next. Okay, let's look at his hands first. I'm going to go for one small claw, like this. And then I'm going to go for a bit more of a gripping claw on this side, so it's a bit wider, like this. Once I've done that, I can add in a little bit of detail. This one's going to be more for snipping. So I've got that arrowhead shape there. And on this side it's going to be more for gripping, so I'm going to make it like a horseshoe. Going round like this. Hey, not bad, not bad. Just his legs to go now, and then a little bit of detail here and there. Let's look at his legs. We are going to make it, I don't know if you remember from earlier in Drawing Club this term, we had this wavy line connecting each of the lines to make this spring shape. So I'm just joining the points with a little curve, and I'm going to do the same on this side as well. So he looks like an accordion, or a slinky, or some bellows, and it will give him a nice bounce as he's rolling along. Good suspension. Now it's just time for our details. You can add to the eyes whatever you like. I'm going to add, because he's a robot, I'm going to add those spiky wires over the top here, like this. Some big, some small, just it's like a funky hairstyle for my robot. Yeah, that does look like a cool hairstyle. I might give him some eyebrows. His mouth looks surprised, so I'm going to point his eyebrows facing upwards. Oh, now he looks sad. Oh, poor Squarehead Thinbot. Maybe some rounded shoulders, some semicircles there. And then let's put some points coming off those as well. Could put ovals on the end of these, like up here, or I could try a different shape. Let's go for a little wire shape. And there we go. There he is. That's our Squarehead Thinbot without any colour. Once you've reached this stage, you can colour him in however you like. I like to stick to no more than 4 colours really. Okay, if I'm using black or white, that's a bit different, but I'm going to try to pick no more than 4 colours to colour in my Squarehead Thinbot. I'm just going to put some buttons on his body, like that. Yeah, that looks even better. So I'm going to choose my 4 colours. Let's see what I'm going to go for. I think a nice light blue for today, and a red, and a yellow, so those are primary colours. And I might add just a splash, just a tiny bit of purple as well, because it is, of course, my favourite colour. You can colour him in however you like. I'm about to do it myself, so I'll pause the video and I'll show you what mine looks like once I've coloured it in. So as you can see, I've started to colour mine in, but I've spotted a problem. There's nothing joining these 2 parts of the arms together. So I'm just going to add a small detail of a little semicircle on each side to show that they've been attached to each other and that they can still move. So it's quite a flexible joint here. Just a small detail that you might want to add to yours, showing how his arms are joined together. Here is my Squarehead Thinbot. Now, before I finish it off, I'm just looking at his eyes, and I think I can bring his eyes to life a little bit. He looks, with his eyebrows, a little bit unhappy. I'm going to cut the eye in half, like this. Not quite straight through the middle, so it's not quite half. And then underneath, I'm going to put another semicircle like that. Let's see if we can zoom in and see that a little bit more clearly. There we go. See, it makes him look really, really sleepy. I'm going to colour that in, that semicircle in the same red, and I'll leave everything else white. How will you decorate his eyes on yours? Now our next step is to outline the whole thing. So let me shade these bits in grey. There is wheels, so I'm just going to shade them in really lightly. I'm not covering all the white, so it gives it a sense that it's the side of the wheel that we can see. And now, once I've put all of my colours away, I can take my black pen and very carefully, keeping control of my black pen, is go over all of these lines that I've drawn to really make those colours pop and to make Squarehead Thinbot stand off the page. Remember, when you are using your pen, if you're using an ink pen, it might smudge. So work from top to bottom and left to right. If you start doing the right-hand side, then when you come across here, you'll smudge that pen with your hand. Start left and work right. And there he is, Squarehead Thinbot, a rather sleepy looking Squarehead Thinbot. If you've had a go today and you'd like to share it with me, take a picture, put it on your portfolio on Class Dojo, and I'll have a look. Well done, artists. Fantastic job. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time.